good evening, or good afternoon, and welcome back to Across the Pitch, Across the Pub. My name is Phil Kennedy, and Darren Woodhead and Tony Robinson will be joining me again shortly. But before we jump into part two, I did just need to make a couple of quick corrections on part one. The first was, being an American, I goofed up on the conversion rate a bit on the Accrington Stanley trading card set. In part one, I had mentioned the price point of $10, which is correct. However, I mentioned £7 UK. The cost is actually £7.5, £7 50 pence UK. Sorry about the goof up on the conversion rate. Of course, the sets are still an excellent value at just an additional 50 pence, but that's £7 50 pence in the UK for the 20 card Accrington Stanley trading card sets. And those sets, like I mentioned earlier, do include autographed cards randomly inserted. And that was one other mistake I may have made. Just wanted to clarify, there are going to be 20 autographed cards, hand-signed, hand-numbered autographed cards of each player randomly inserted into the set. So there's a total of 400 autographed cards randomly inserted throughout all of the sets, all 20 players. So that's just an excellent opportunity to get a hand-signed card of an Accrington player. One other quick mention I did want to have before we jump in is we had talked about potential signings for Accrington Stanley in this upcoming part two. One thing I hadn't mentioned on our original recording, but was a thought that I had been kind of having, was how nice it would be if Accrington Stanley was able to bring in Paul Smith, who, of course, had his second loan stint with Stanley this year. And I had just been thinking how much I wish that Stanley could make Paul Smith a permanent Ackie player. And there's a good chance that might actually become a reality, as it was announced yesterday, on Thursday, May 20th, that Paul Smith was released by Queen's Park Rangers. It is my understanding that Accrington is already pursuing a contract, so hopefully we will see Paul Smith becoming a permanent Ackie player. Knock on wood. You're a fan favorite, and we would love to see you with the Reds again next season. And otherwise, Tony and Darren and myself are going to have kind of a full episode on signings coming up here in the coming weeks. But for right now, let's get back to part two.
And one thing just to pick up on, and I think the signing that we've had this week, Harry Pell, I think he could be the type of player that Tony just mentioned, because he's got goals in him. He works up and down the line, and he cuts inside. If you look at the clips of the goals he scored, he can score goals from outside the box with either foot. And I've always rated him when he's played against Accrington, for the last few seasons for various clubs. And I've got it on good authority this week that John and Jimmy have actually been tracking him for 6 years. 6 years they've been watching him and wanting to sign this guy. And they finally got the man.
Do you see him sitting in behind the front two then, Darren?
I can see him playing there or on the wing. I think, you never know with John and Jimmy. It just depends. If they get Joe and Sean on the wings, they might find a place for him inside, or they play him out wide and they mix and match between them all.
Yeah, because I think when you look, you've got Keneally in front of the back four. I think we're going to be set with Sykes coming back in the group that they already have there, and Mark Hughes, Nottingham, Burgess. I think they're set, and I think I'd like to see Butcher play a bit more. Hopefully he's healthy, back to full health, and with him and Pritchard, Sean McConville. As I say, and this new fellow, like you said, Pell. I think maybe he could be the sort of the key ingredient to make bring this all together.
Yeah, and if you saw his interview, did you see his interview when he signed?
Yes.
I was really, really impressed with the way he spoke. I mean, sometimes they come and they churn out a few lines, but you could just tell his enthusiasm. He just can't wait to get going.
Yeah, no, and to get it over the line the first day kind of thing, I thought was very key. And last year when they did this with Burgess, and they said they were looking after him for a while, and they got him over the line really quick. And to do that this time, I just sends a positive message, to whole Stanley fans that I think next year could be to build on what they've got did this year. Good things could be expected from this club next season.
Oh yeah, and did you see the other new signing this week? 3-year contract. Yeah, it was Clayton Park Bakery.
Oh, I did see that,
so
and I've been told that the pies are fantastic.
I'm quite excited by that because I do like they do a steak and pepper pie. I do like one of those at halftime, Phil. So it's part of tradition. So I'm more than pleased that we've got a 3-year deal with those guys.
Oh, excellent. That's good.
We need to find a way of getting a pie over there, don't we, to the States?
Well,
I'll send them a message, see what they can do.
And it's Phil. It's one you eat. You don't wear it, right? Remember? Okay. On that note, Darren, I wanted to obviously the success with the countdown. What a great idea you had there, and how do you think that panned out from your point of view, and any surprises in it?
Yeah, so we set off with it. What gave me the idea, because I think the Mark Shirley one went straight in about number 12 out of 220 episodes after a week. So that was amazing, really. And then so I just looked at the list of 11 above it, and I just thought, well, there's been some fantastic episodes, so we'll just do a countdown, one per day, and they were really popular, as you can see. I think in general, once they'd all been released, I think it's settled down to somewhere what it was. The Burnley episode on the worst signings, that jumped up considerably, didn't it? The one you did, Tony.
Yeah. No, I was surprised at that one, Darren, because but it did get a lot of play. But I certainly enjoyed. There was a lot of jockeying at the end. Within the top three, the way they ended up. How did they end up? Who got back to number one?
So back to number one was David Lloyd again with the 2-pint limit, which is I suppose it's a little bit of a signature podcast we've got, isn't it? Iconic guy like Bumble on there. It was always going to be the most popular, and once the voting, so to speak, had settled down, and different downloads, he got back on top of the tree, and he's probably going to take some knocking off, isn't he, over the next few years?
Yeah, it was nice to see that the 3-part episode of John Coleman, although number 2 was in the top 3, the people listened to all the other 2 episodes as well, which they do stand the test of time. And it was a great old visit with John Coleman. And that, if we will go into the favorite podcast, that for me was my favorite podcast. It was because it was one of my first. I was nervous beyond belief because he's a legend. And he just made you feel so at ease, and to the point where he reminded me I missed a question, and that and he listens to the podcast, and he enjoyed our work, was tremendous, and that just set me at ease. But for the overall content, that to me was my favorite.
Yeah, well, that's given us a little bit of an idea, hasn't it, going into this podcast, where we're each going to choose 3 podcasts, our favorite podcast, but we could only choose one each from the top 10. So we'll go with you first then, Tony, for your 3. So you've gone for your favorite one out of the top 10, which is John Coleman, classic 3-part episode. What have you got after that?
Well, I'm going to go on the number 2 one that I'm going to go with. is one that hasn't sort of been mentioned a lot, but it was episode 114, parts 1 and 2 with Paul Carden. The manager.
That was actually one of mine, so I'm going to have to pull another.
It was a good episode, Zels.
And the reason I say that, too, because not only was a great visit and he was a good guest, but at the start, before we started recording, he told that his mother passed away that morning, but he insisted on going ahead with it. And like a true professional, he hit it out of the ballpark, to use a baseball reference, and he was a class act. And I think it was therapeutic for him to be able to sit down and take his mind off things and talk football. So for that reason, that's my number 2, and number 3. I'm going to go with one. I think I had another one, but I think you guys are going to pick the other one. So I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go to one that really a player that started the Stanley on their road to success way back when, and it was the one episode number 27, Tangerine Dreams, with Brad Ormrod. I thought he's just I just like listening to him. He's just a great individual. I like him on the announcer when he's announcing games. So that for me was my number 3. I thought it was a great job.
That was one of our best early episodes. Yeah. That was one that always stuck out for me.
Yeah, excellent. So what about you, Phil? There's so many to go for, to choose from. It's unbelievable, yeah. So what about you, Phil?
I wanted to stay away from the top 10 ones.
Okay.
And, kind of go with some deeper cuts here. And one that it was, I was honestly, I'm going to say I was disappointed that it didn't get more listens than it did when it first came out. And I don't usually say that, but it's just because who the guest was is someone that unfortunately has passed away since we've recorded it, which makes it even more of a special episode to me, and that was when Daryl Grove came on to talk about his love of the Wolves, and his show Total Soccer Show was really the inspiration for the start of Across the Pitch. So just to have Daryl on the show was such an honor. So I mean certainly that is one of mine. Then another one that I really thought didn't get the attention that it should, and was one that I really enjoyed and thought was just one of the best guests we ever had, was when Dr. David Kilpatrick came on the show. He just had such unique ideas and such a unique way of looking at football on both sides of the pond that it was an episode. He was one of the guests that after the episode, I just sat there and kind of thought about everything that he said. And I know you must have felt the same way on that one, Darren.
Yeah, it was. He put a perspective on the game in the US that I hadn't really thought about before, and he just like I said, he had some really good thoughts on football in general, didn't he?
It was very well spoken and a great interview, and it was. I think it's one that people can go back and listen to and really enjoy it.
Yeah, good stuff. So for mine. Right, I've chosen one out of the top 10, and I was struggling to know which one to choose anyway, and I got down to 2, and I could hardly choose between them: the Jimmy Bell episode and the Jay Flannery episode. And probably because I like them both as individuals, I was struggling even more. But I think Jimmy Bell just about, sorry, Jay, but Jimmy Bell episode, I thought it was, humorous and insightful into his career, and just a good laugh and a good chat to have with him. So that was my first one. Now the other 2, I've stayed away from Stanley because there's just been so many players who I could have chosen from, and it just became impossible from the Legends series. So I've gone for 2 episodes Well, the first one is with Bill Hearn. I really enjoyed that. So he was the author of Football's Black Pioneers. I thought it was a fascinating subject. Lovely chap, great to talk to. Shame he's a Sunderland fan. Sorry, Bill there. But apart from that, I just thought it was really. I was hanging on to his every word as we were speaking. I just thought it was a fascinating chap. That was episode 184. Now I've got a. Yeah, good one that, Phil, wasn't it? Yeah. Now, the other one, not one I was involved with, episode 122. Now, this is something that an episode that I really enjoyed listening to, and that was Peter Ramage. He was at Phoenix Rising at the time, Phil, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a great episode. That was one that I hadn't thought of until you just mentioned it. But yeah, Peter Ramage was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think he's since come back to England, hasn't he? Did he take a job?
Yeah, he's with
Newcastle
Academy, I believe.
Yeah, so we need to get him back on again now. He's come back over this side of the pond to get his perspective on football. But no, I thought that was a really, really interesting listen. So they're my three. It just shows how many we've had, though, doesn't it? And what are we, 220 plus all the specials, Phil? It's absolute minefield picking them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's been so many fantastic guests that I mean, you can't leave anybody out. I mean, and I'll tell you another one of my favorite episodes was the first time that I ever had our friend Abdullah Subaru on the show when he told us all about football in Ghana and just kind of hearing about how the leagues in Africa work for the very first time. It was just really an eye-opening show hearing about how different everything is on that continent.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've been right around the world, haven't we? With different guests and their experiences.
One that really was on my list that I could have gone with too was 132 was the Memories of Peel Park that you guys did with Ross Cuddy. That I thought that was such an emotional, meaningful episode to document things and under his circumstances, and I thought that was a tremendous one as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Superb.
Okay, Phil, over to you, I think.
All right. Well, we had a little segment here that we're going to do about Stanley and Accrington Stanley being one of the most unique names in the EFL. And one of the things I always kind of talked about how it's just like the first time I ever heard Accrington Stanley, it stuck with me, and I just wanted to know everything about it. And that the name is kind of one of the big selling points to the club because you never forget it when you hear it. But we wanted to know what are some of the other unique names in the EFL. What's your second favorite name? I guess is what the question we had that we were going to talk about.
Well, I'm going to go with Sheffield Wednesday because that's a day of the week, and you name your club after the day of the week. I mean, there's a lot of other good names, but it turns out that the people involved with the club, a lot of those too. It should be noted that they were originally cricket clubs, and then they made football clubs or formed football clubs for the players to keep in shape during the winter. It turned out that the football took off more than some of the cricket did, and apparently Sheffield Wednesday was named that because the players had Wednesdays off. So they took the name. Well, they were all off on Wednesday, so they were called Sheffield Wednesday. And I just think that name's unique. And outside of Stanley, I think it's one of my favorites.
Good choice.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, the one I've plumped for is Argyle, Plymouth Argyle.
That's mine. Yeah. You stole mine.
This
makes me think of socks.
Yeah. So I had to Google what the Argyle reference was. It's to do with the colour, isn't it? The green. So Argyle green, apparently. So yeah, so it's an iconic name. You don't even have to say Plymouth, do you? You know, you say Argyle, it's like Stanley. You just know who we're talking about. And incidentally, there's a guy who's written a piece in my book who's a Plymouth supporter, and he's done a little segment in there as Steve Rhodes about what it's like to visit Accrington as an away fan. So he's put a really nice piece together in a couple of pages about the whole day of visiting Accrington. And he said it's one of his favourite days of his football supporting life. So it's quite special, that.
You tied that in nicely. And by the way, he got 2 pages?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
I guess that leaves me either Aston Villa or Brighton and Hove Albion are my choices. I'll go with Brighton and Hove Albion because whenever I hear that name, I always imagine Jay-Z saying Brighton and Hove.
Well, I'll give you that one, Phil. But Albion is not really. It's used on other teams too. But
well, it's a name for the island of Great Britain, like the ancient name of the island of Great Britain, I believe.
See, I thought you'd go with Crew Alexandra.
Yeah, I thought about that one, to be quite honest. Yeah.
But there's a couple of good ones. Preston North End. North End. That's just a unique name. And the one I don't like, it's on the list because it's unusual, is MK Dons, but I just don't like it because of the whole circumstances. Anyway, just what? No, that's a.
I was gonna say Stevenage, but that wouldn't go over well on a Stanley show.
Well,
we can cut that one out. We can cut that out later.
And this leads to the segment of the show where we were going to sort of reveal something that the other people, like your other 2 guys don't really know about the other person. I'm just going to jump in with, I'll give you a hint on mine and then I'll let you tell yours and then you can come back to it. This is, I took part several years ago in a Olympic style endurance multisport race. And I did it for a couple of years. It's actually an Olympic event. So that's my secret. You'll have to guess what sport it was. But over to you guys to tell me your secret. Then we'll come back and I'll reveal my answer.
What year were we talking, Tony? I'm just trying to think of you being in a race.
Well, Tony's actually already told me about this before. So,
right, okay.
Oh, did I?
Oh, you told me about this before.
Oh, it's probably 25. It's probably 30 years ago.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, okay.
We'll come back to that in a minute. I'll have a think about that.
Next, Darren.
Right. Well, Tony's got a little bit of unfair advantage because it is in my book and he has read it, but the listeners out there won't know. So I spent a year outside of the UK. Obviously couldn't watch Accrington Stanley, so I had to adopt another club that I used to go watch every week in another country. So let's let you have a think about that one. We'll come back to that.
Right. I've forgotten about. I have to read the book again.
you have to buy it.
Okay, Phil. Okay.
I have an idea based on your troubles that we had recently, but I could be way off. I don't know. For all I know, you're in Turkey at the Fenerbahce games.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I would have quite liked that. It looks a good atmosphere, doesn't it? I think Jason Graham would like it there.
Yeah.
Fenerbahce with all the flags and the flares.
Yeah.
Okay, Phil, go on. Give us a clue. What about yours?
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned this to you guys a little bit, so you probably are onto this a little bit, but basically from 2007 to about 2011, I had a semi-serious dabble in the music industry.
Okay. Okay, is this? Were you a backup singer for? Who was your big favorite, Darren? Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston.
Yeah. What type of music, Phil? We're a bit of classical, a bit of Pavarotti style, were you?
No opera. Although I will tell you that in sixth grade, I from like sixth grade to about ninth grade, I did play the oboe.
Right. Well, it's all coming out now, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so do we go back?
I gave it up because I wasn't really into classical music, but yeah, for about 4 years I played the oboe.
All right. No end to your talents.
But that's not my that's not where I was.
Right. So let's go back to Tony then. Come on, give us your answer then, Tony.
I was a triathlete. I took part in the three events in the one event. Was a 1.5 kilometer swim, 40K bike ride, and a 10-kilometer run. So I did about 8 or 9 of those in a couple of years span.
Wow,
that's impressive. So I remember, I think you said what the running was your best event and the swimming was your worst, or something like that.
Well, I was under the water more times than I was above, but I only do the breaststroke. So it took me. I was one of the last out of the water all the time. So
did you have some armbands on top?
Well, over here they call water wings, but
wings.
Anyway, no, I was.
I'm impressed.
I was about 100 pounds. I was actually, when I was doing it, I got down to about 155 pounds when I was doing it. So it was a challenge, but it was something I wanted to do, and I did it, and that was it. So tell us about your secret second team, or your team that you watched.
Yep. First of all, when you come over in September, I'll see if there's any triathlons I can enter you in when you're over this year. So my football team at that time, I was living in Paris for a year, and so it was Paris Saint-Germain. I used to go every other week in the early 90s, but they weren't really the superpower that they are now, money-wise. They were a decent-sized club. They were a lot better club, actually. It was just a normal club. Used to be good fun. But that was me living in Paris for a year. Yeah.
Well, that's I could see you with.
I would have guessed Ireland.
Yeah, I know. I've spent enough time in Ireland. Yeah.
Well, I can picture with his little beret on and his mustache and whistling as he's skipping and doing mines. He was doing mines in a box.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I did keep my love of wine and cheese off from being over there, so yeah, I've kept that going.
Good man. Okay, Phil.
Go on, Phil.
All right. Well, mine is that, like I said, from about 2007 to 2011, I got into recording some rap songs, and at first it kind of started off where I just said I was going to kind of make a song like Snoop Dogg, and wrote this song and went over to this producer's house to record, and he's like, well, hey, this is actually pretty good. Have you ever thought about doing this for real and not just like a one-time fun song? I was like, well, so I started just, recording songs here and there, and started playing some local bars and things like that. And then I got to the point where I opened for a few major label artists. Devin the Dude, who's a guy that has done work with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I opened for him. Bubba Sparks, who's a guy that had 3 or 4 top 10 songs in the early 2000s. I opened for him, but It just became one of those things where you can't do it as a hobby, and it has to be your full-time job if you're going to make it in that industry. And I was 30 by the time I had started playing bigger shows, which is like 100 years old in that industry. So in about 2011, I retired from the rep career, but I did sell, I think, about 80 or 90 copies on iTunes. So that's my claim to fame.
And dare I ask, Phil, what did you have a stage name?
Phil Diddy.
I did have a stage name, and basically my thing was I was kind of trying to be like the Snoop Dogg of Phoenix, so my stage name was Dr. Ganja.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We need to get some of this on the Facebook page, across the pitch.
Yeah.
I've still got some of the songs somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Excellent.
So,
well, what are you guys looking forward to most about next season? I think that's where we're finishing up with today.
Just going to a game for me. Just to get back to normal, just to get into a routine. Little things. I usually pick my dad up, take him to the match, and just go and have a pint and a pie and watch a game, socialise with friends, and it's just to get back to that. Really, that's all. The football in a way is immaterial when you've not been. It's you just realise football. It's part of it, but it's not the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. Fans getting back is the number one, and for me, it's just hoping to be able to make the trip over to see some matches in September. I mean, my flight's been initially that I booked has been canceled, and I'm just waiting to see if Boris opens things up so that people from Canada and wherever can travel in to see some matches. So if you're listening, Boris, get off your keister, and I know Boris tunes in. And open things up come June 21st, Boris. I need to get over because I need to buy a Darren a pint and sit down and watch some football. And I'm just looking forward, hopefully, to seeing that. And I think a couple of signings from John Coleman. I'm looking forward to an exceptional season next year. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tony. And of course, I'm still looking to make my first trip over to Accrington. And it, sounds like with things finally kind of dying down with the virus and whatnot, that might be a reality sooner rather than later. But what I'm looking for is kind of more along the lines of what Tony said. And that really, to me, is just progress. When I started the beginning of the show here, I said that Stanley finished 11th place in League One, which is historically in modern times their highest finish. And that's what I want to say again. Even if it's 10th place next year, that's progress. It's been said often that John Coleman feels that he has one more promotion in him at least. And when I look at League Two, it took Stanley 13 years to get from League Two to League One, and now we're going to be going into year 4 now in League One, and I think that as things stand, we're ahead of schedule to get that promotion in less than 13 years. And I think that if I just see that, we're one step closer to John Coleman's 5th promotion, that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Yep.
Plenty to look forward to.
Absolutely, and I look forward to recording more of these episodes with you guys and more fantastic interviews and current players, Legend Series, and the trading cards. They've got me excited too, because that's really going to help us to bring a visual of Stanley. It's like I was telling Peter the other day. I talk to people about Accrington Stanley all the time, but if I can put a trading card in their hand, then all of a sudden they can see Accrington Stanley.
Yep. Just on that note, Phil, you mentioned ex-players. I can just confirm, and you've always said we seem to be piecing together the last 50 years, and there's a guy going to be joining us in a couple of weeks who actually played in the first ever game at the Crown Ground in 1970. A guy called Brian Pemberton, now resides in Canada, so that's going to be a great chat. We're going to have two people on in Canada, ex-Accringtonians, and myself and you, Phil. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a good chat.
I can't wait.
We've
had some fantastic guests recently too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some of the new players on, especially Mr. Pell, the new signing. I think he'd be a great guest, and I'm looking. It'd be nice to chat with him based on what we've seen so far, his enthusiasm. Maybe we can capture that in a podcast.
Definitely,
absolutely. Did you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think we've covered a lot there. It's been great fun.
My beer's empty, and I'm done. And it's been a great chat visit with you guys, always is. And on to bigger, better things. And best of luck to you both with your projects. And it should be some nice Stanley related information and reading material and cards coming out in the off season to keep things bubbling over till we get football back.
It's amazing just to see all of the things coming to fruition, and I know how much I enjoyed Darren's last book and how it's still something that sits on my desk and I pick it up from time to time. And when I was writing the trivia questions for the cards, almost all of those questions were out of Darren's book. So I mean, you just can't speak to what kind of resource it really is for a Stanley fan.
Great stuff.
It's not on the floor holding the door open or anything, Phil, is it? You're not using it as a doorstop.
Well, mine's got a couple of rings on it there. I have to turn it over from being on the coffee table. So, great stuff, guys.
Yep.
Well, there's one way that we always finish up. So, you guys ready?
Go for it.
1, 2, 3. On Stanley!
Stanley!
Cheers,
guys.
fellas.